Anyway, the war came to an end, and I got back to, well, more or less normal. I unfortunately met a young lady in 1942, just before being called out. And it was love at first sight, quite obviously, because we were married for 65 years. She passed away about 9 years ago, and we had a marvelous life. But what was great about her, having her as a friend at that time, of course, it was difficult for a girl to be friendly with a conscious objector, conscious as were called. You know, there were people didn't bother with them because, you know, they couldn't be very good going with a chap like that, you see. And anyway, throughout the war, although I was away for several years in the south of England and she was up in Manchester, we kept contact, of course, wrote regularly, and she stuck with me. She had been the girlfriend of an RAF boy, an RAF base near where she lived before she joined me. And but having someone like that who supported you and believed in what you were doing was a great thing to have, because you're shunned quite often. That's one of the problems of being a conscientious objector. You're not very popular necessarily in those sort of circumstances. And so having someone who stood by you throughout thick and thin, and eventually we got married in 1947, which interestingly, just one final thing, I'll just say, because we felt that several pacifists in our area thought that reconciliation was the thing that was necessary after the war. There was a prisoner of war camp in our town. And I think we formed a group, and I think we were the first group that were allowed into German prisoner of war camps in the country at the time. And we used to visit them, and they offered us coffee. It was terrible. It was ersatz coffee. It wasn't ordinary coffee. It was terrible. You had to drink it because they'd been so kind to make it for you. Anyway, of course, as I say, we were planning to get married in March 1947, and we were still going to the prison camp. And the last day that I was there, one of the men presented me with a present for our wedding. And they'd made a set of table mats out of any piece of wood they could find round about the camp. A lovely set of you know, six small mats and 2 large ones. And presented it to me as a wedding present. And I thought, well, you see, they're lads like ours. They'd been conscripted just the way ours had been conscripted. They didn't necessarily support what their country was doing, but like our lads, they were having to do things which under normal circumstances it wouldn't consider ever thinking of doing. Some of the